Hi.
Okay, guys, how's everyone doing today? Is everyone well? Everyone's good? Okay, brilliant. Okay. So, okay. So obviously, of course, now yesterday we were talking about and the past, and of course, Priscilla, we talked about that again in the other class. Is there anything that you want to go over again from yesterday? Anything you wanted to add? Anything that was confusing still? All good? No problem?
Yes.
Yes, meaning no problem. Okay. Okay, very good, very good. Okay. Right. So just to start off, because we only have like so it's four people, so it's not so cluttered. So what I'd like you guys to do, I'm gonna leave the four of you. Well, on the off chance that somebody else comes, I don't think anyone else will come, but on the off chance um, that you guys come, I'm just gonna split you into pairs. Okay, I'm just gonna split you into pairs. I'm just got you guys can just chat together just for a few minutes. Yeah.
Hey.
Martin, you're back. Okay, I don't know why. I was trying to put you with Jose. I don't know why. I'm not sure what happened there. Okay, hang on just 2 seconds, Martin. I don't know why. Okay, Martin, I'm sorry, I have no idea what happened there. Can you?
eliminar.
Este es el profe y pocos alumnos. Mira.
En estas ocasiones sí utilizamos un implante muy largo. ¿Para qué? Para poder sobrepasar donde teníamos la inclusión del canino y conseguir la estabilidad primaria.
Solo somos 3.
Milímetros
Me voy a salir.
verticales. Aquí lo veis.
Quizás llegará más. Ese
Tenemos
rato
aquí
pasó
la
igual.
impronta del canino
¿Cómo
y
sé que
hacemos lo
estoy?
siguiente.
Ah, mira,
La
están,
estabilidad sobre
me
todo
están
el nivel de
escuchando.
esos 3 milímetros apicales
Pero
y luego
era
a nivel
inglés.
de la pared palatina del implante. ¿De acuerdo?
Sí, pone, sí.
Caracteriza eso, ¿verdad?
Oh, okay. Fine, everyone's back. Okay.
Son más.
All right.
Niall,
¿Escuchas?
una
Yeah.
cuestión.
Yes, of course.
The curfew,
Curfew.
yes. Is the similar of staying house obligatory?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, basically, so when you talk about curfew,
Curfew.
yeah, so it's curfew is the thing, and it's under curfew. Okay, so basically, you say like the city is under curfew, and then when the curfew is over, when the curfew is over, the curfew is lifted, right? So the city's under curfew, and then the curfew is lifted. But that's what we say. That's how we actually put it. That the curfew is lifted. Okay, so how is everyone doing today?
Good.
Good.
Very good, teacher.
So like, because we're all in this same situation, we're all quarantined and we're all self-isolating. So how have you been spending your time? Like, what have you been doing? Are you reading? Are you exercising? Are you doing yoga? Are you studying? What are you doing these days?
All of these things that you said.
All of these things? Okay, fair enough. All these things. Are you sleeping more than you would usually?
Yeah, I'm all the time in bed.
Okay. Are you eating more?
No, I'm eating less.
You're eating less, Lara.
Yeah, because I don't want to go to the supermarket a lot, and so I try to don't eat all my food.
Right.
Yeah.
And are you guys like, are you able to get exercise?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, here in Ireland we can go for a walk or run 2 kilometers.
2 kilometers, yeah.
Yeah, 2 kilometers. Yeah.
Okay. So you can go for 2 kilometers, which is brilliant. And in terms of like doing something new, like, are any of you trying something new? Like, because now you have all this time and you're at home with nothing else to do. Are any of you trying to learn something new or look up something new or find out about something new? Like a new hobby, like?
Yeah. I'm trying to draw more.
Draw, okay, very good. Okay. So you're trying to draw. Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're trying to be creative.
Yeah, I like it.
Good. Well, that's good.
Mm.
Creative is good.
Reading this book.
What? Muchas
Uh,
gracias.
What's the book? Muchas vidas, muchos maestros. Okay. And what?
Yes.
So what? Many lives, many
It's
masters.
it's the karma life, reincarnation life.
Oh, it's about reincarnation. Oh, okay, fine.
Yes.
Oh, right. Many lives. Okay, fair enough.
Yes.
Good.
Many lives.
Good.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Brilliant. Brilliant. So how's everyone else coping? Nacho, how are you coping? Oh, is your microphone working, Nacho?
No.
No? Oh, it is. How are you coping, Nacho?
Fine. Sorry, but my Wi-Fi is very poor.
Okay.
Slow.
No problem. No problem. But are you okay? I don't know why I'm shouting. Are you okay?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Sorry, it's weird because I know that like my microphone is right here, but I always end up shouting, so I'm sorry. Okay, right. So yesterday we were looking at the passive and then the active, okay? And now to be honest, I think you said to me yesterday something else that you wanted to look at, but I've forgotten what it was. Do you remember? No?
Prepositions?
Prepositions. Oh God. Okay. Well, we can do prepositions. Obviously, we have to do prepositions at some point. Can we do prepositions another day, though?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do prepositions another day. I'm not. Yeah. What I did want to actually, what I wanted to do was I wanted to talk a little bit about phrasal verbs. Okay.
Okay.
Now, the thing about phrasal verbs, I'm just going to be honest. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to show you guys a video. But I'm actually going to show you guys a video. But just before I show you the video, the thing about phrasal verbs is, of course, obviously there's like, you know, thousands of them, and they can be very, very difficult to remember. And usually when you learn phrasal verbs, you know, the focus is on the verb, right? So usually when we talk about phrasal verbs, we tend to focus on the verb. But really, to be honest, you should not focus on the verb. I mean, yeah, obviously the verb is important, but the really important part of a phrasal verb is this. The really important part of the phrasal verb is the preposition. Up, down, in, out, on, off, around, whatever it is.
Yeah.
The focus will always be on what's going on. And so it's a question of what does this word mean? So that's why I want to actually show you a video. So there's a guy, now this guy, he's a professor of linguistics. Okay, so he's a linguistics professor. So he's going to be talking about phrasal verbs in a very different way, because when he talks about phrasal verbs, what he's talking about is precisely this, okay? It's precisely this idea of up and down. So and I'm going to try to explain it. He explains it much better, but I will try to explain it first. So when we talk about the idea of going up, okay? When we talk about the idea of going up, the idea of up contains a lot of different things. So it obviously includes the idea of a rise. something rising, okay? But it also can then talk about the idea of something increasing, okay? Because basically, when we think of the idea of up, we have an idea in our brain that up is good and down, like we have an idea that up is good and down is bad, right? That's just the way we think. So when we think about things like up, it's very often a rise or an increase, or there's an improvement, okay? Or things get bigger, okay? So something gets bigger, something goes down, okay? And then likewise, obviously, if you're thinking about something like down, you know, that's the idea of a decrease. It's the idea of things getting worse, okay? It's the idea of lower, like it's lower, okay? And so that's why, you know, for example, if you want to think about music, so you turn up the radio and you turn down the radio. And this idea of turning up the radio or turning down the radio, it's to do with the idea that up is big and loud and down is low and quiet. So we talk about sound, we talk about vision. So the idea of this is the fact that the preposition up, down, in, on, off, that idea is what gives the meaning to what you're talking about. Okay? Now, that's my not very good explanation. So I'm going to play the video. It's about 10 minutes long. Yeah, it's about 10 minutes long. And he will explain in a much better way than I ever can. Now, the first like minute or 2 minutes of the video is academic, scientific, linguistic terminology, okay? So the beginning of the video is sort of linguistics terms, okay? But after a couple of minutes, he's going to start talking about phrasal verbs in a very, very simple way. And he has a very good kind of like visual explanation. That's why I want you guys to watch this. So I think it's about 10 minutes, okay? And I think there's subtitles as well. If I remember correctly. Okay, so okay, so this is the video.
When people are using the law of attraction, they're using it from a limited perception. Oftentimes it's ego desire. About effects. For example, to switch on the lights. Or do you see the face of a man? Look at this painting by the Ukrainian artist Oleg Shuplyak. What do you see? Do you see the face of a man? Or do you see somebody painting a cottage? And which one is correct? Or are both correct? It depends on your perspective. In linguistics, the idea that one word can have multiple meanings is called polysemy. And understanding and accepting that words can have multiple meanings, and all of those meanings are correct depending on your perspective, is the key to understanding English phrasal verbs. And also chocolate biscuits. Hello and welcome to Kangaroo English. I'm Christian, and today I am going to show you how to really understand and learn English phrasal verbs. Phrasal verbs are one of the most frustrating and difficult things in the English language. Their meanings seem completely arbitrary and random. And a traditional teaching method would tell you that you have to look at this phrasal verb, which means this, and memorize it, and repeat, and repeat, and repeat. But what if I told you that actually English phrasal verbs do have a deeper logic, a deeper meaning? And once you understand this logic behind phrasal verbs, then learning them becomes really easy. To help us, we need cognitive linguistics. Cognitive linguistics is different from other studies of language because it tells us that the way that the human mind works shapes language. The way that we see and experience the world has a direct effect on the language that we use. And studying phrasal verbs using cognitive linguistics has significant benefits. Before we talk specifics, there are two very important concepts to understand. The first one is perspective. We can view events and situations in life from different perspectives. For example, right now I am at a desk, in front of a camera, on a chair, in a school, on the planet Earth. My situation hasn't changed, but the perspective from which you view my situation is different, and this affects the language we use. The second concept is space. Space, spatial awareness, and how we move through space is essential to the human experience. We can move through space on a trajectory, or we can be static in space, or we can be oriented in space. So now you understand that phrasal verbs are not random and illogical, and you also understand the concepts of perspective and space. Now we can begin to look at the deeper meaning behind phrasal verbs. Phrasal verbs consist of a verb and one or more particles. Now, obviously, the verb part is important, but really the most important part of phrasal verbs is the particles. The particles can alter and change the meaning of the verb. And understanding the deeper meaning of these particles is the key to understanding and learning phrasal verbs. Now, to understand the particles, we need a special tool, something really powerful and unique. Chocolate biscuits. First, let's look at the particle up. The principal meaning of up is a movement through space in this direction. Biscuit is moving up. And this helps us to understand the basic verb and preposition combinations, like, for example, to pick up a biscuit, or the biscuit goes up the mountain. But this movement through space in this direction also helps us to understand the more abstract verbs which contain up. Here on my plate I have one biscuit. As I start to add biscuits, as I have a greater quantity of biscuits, you can see that the stack moves in this direction, up. So phrasal verbs which contain up can talk about a greater quantity of something. So when I ask you to speak up, I'm asking you to increase the level of your voice. But also, 5 biscuits is better than 1 biscuit. So up can also indicate that something is improving, something is better than before. So if I go out to a special occasion, maybe I will dress up. I will dress up in improved, better clothes. Up can also talk about orientation in space. Look at this packet of biscuits. Would you say that it's up? No, because this end is open. So this is the top, where you can access the biscuits. Now, the packet of biscuits is up. It's in the correct orientation. It's ready for action. It is prepared. And from this idea, we get the phrasal verbs such as set up a business, to put your business in the correct orientation, to be prepared. Or before you exercise, you warm up. You prepare your body for action. Now, a question for you. How many biscuits do I have on this plate? You don't know? Well, it's because you can't see them. Let me bring them up. Now you can see I have 3 biscuits. When I move something up, I bring it into your vision. Because remember, the human experience, how we experience the world, affects our language. So when we bring something up, we make it visible. And now we can understand phrasal verbs like to go up to somebody at a party. So when you come closer to them, they can see you. And also, when something is in our vision, we can start to know it, to understand it. So coming up, seeing something, is a synonym for understanding. And this helps us to understand phrasal verbs like look up a word in the dictionary, or read up about the English language. Now imagine that this is the last biscuit in the packet, and you want to share it with your friend. You need to break it. You need to break it up. Do you see, when we break something, when we destroy it, we have this natural upward direction. And so maybe if you don't share your biscuit with your girlfriend, she will break up with you. And if she's really bad, maybe she will smash up your things. To understand the final meaning of up, it's really important to use your perspective. So here I have 4 biscuits on a plate. Now imagine that I eat them all. Now my body, my stomach is full. I am full up. So from one perspective, you could say that this vessel, this container is full, which helps you to understand phrasal verbs like to fill up. But if we look at this perspective, we can see that the biscuits are gone. The plate is empty. It's the opposite meaning, and that helps you to understand phrasal verbs like use up. The battery in my phone is completely used up. The next particle is down. The principal meaning of down is a movement through space in this direction. So for example, the biscuit is moving down. And this helps us to understand basic phrasal verbs like to put down or to fall down. But what about the more abstract meanings? Here I have my plate of biscuits. As I begin to eat them, they go down inside my body. I eat them down. Also, you can see that as I eat them, we have a movement in this direction. So phrasal verbs which contain down talk about a reducing quantity For example, to calm down or to cut down the amount of cigarettes that you smoke. Down is inherently negative. Remember that language reflects the human experience. If I had 4 biscuits before and now I only have 1 biscuit because the quantity has reduced down, then my situation is worse than before. It's a deteriorated situation. And that helps you to understand phrasal verbs like break down, when your car or your washing machine doesn't work anymore like it used to. Or when somebody disappoints you, they let you down. Now let's talk about on. On describes contact between 2 surfaces. So here, the biscuit is on the plate. We have contact between the biscuit and the plate. And this helps us to understand phrasal verbs like to put on clothes, because the clothes are in contact with our bodies. Or to hold on to something when our hands are in contact with another surface. Now let's look at on from another perspective. The biscuit is on the plate. But imagine that the plate disappeared. What would happen to the biscuit? It would fall. The plate is providing a type of support to hold the biscuit. So phrasal verbs which contain on also talk about support, like when you depend on somebody. Contact between 2 surfaces causes an effect. For example, if I sit on the biscuit will probably break. And this helps to understand why phrasal verbs containing on talk about effects. For example, to switch on the lights. Or if you are running in a race and I am cheering you on, come on, you can do it. I'm pushing you. Movement is essential to the human experience. Because humans cannot fly, whenever we move, we are always in contact with a surface. But we don't just move through physical space. We also move through time. So phrasal verbs which contain on can also talk about moving through time. For example, carry on working, continue working through time into the future. And also, when I want you to think about something through time in the future, why don't you think on that idea, reflect on that idea? Now imagine that you are with your group of friends and there's only 1 biscuit left. You need to get your hand on the biscuit if you want it. This idea of capturing something, of attacking something, also appears in phrasal verbs with on. For example, bullies pick on people. The next particle is off. On talks about contact between 2 surfaces. But off is when we lose that contact. And that helps you to understand phrasal verbs like come off. I hope that this stain will come off my shirt. Or to see off. When somebody goes on a long journey, you lose contact, you see them off. But also, this movement away, this distance, could be physical, but also abstract. You can move away from a current condition. Imagine that you are in a very bad position in your life, but then your situation improves. You can say, I am better off. The distance from this original condition is growing. Now finally, let's switch perspective. So imagine that you are the plate, and this biscuit is trying to make contact with you. It's trying to get on you. But you are fighting back. You are keeping the biscuit off the plate. This helps you to understand phrasal verbs like cut off, where you are maintaining that distance. The next particle is in. To describe in, first we need to define a container. Now, the container could have very clear boundaries, like this cup, or the boundaries could be not so clear, like a group of people or a forest. The principal definition of in is when we have an external object moving or inside our container. And it could be completely inside the container, like this, or it could be sticking out of the top. And they are both valid definitions of in. And this helps us to understand basic phrasal verbs with in, like to stay inside your house because you don't want to go out tonight. Or if you have a form that you have to fill in, you are putting the information inside the boxes that are on the form. In a more abstract sense, our mind is also a type of container. We can put ideas and information here. And this helps you to understand phrasal verbs like to take in a story. In can also be used to talk about including or adding something. Imagine if I have one piece of biscuit inside my cup, and then I add another one. This biscuit is joining in. I added in another biscuit. Now, what if we look at these two pieces of biscuit from a different perspective? Imagine that you are inside the cup with these two biscuits, looking at them. Helps you to understand phrasal verbs like to keep in touch. The final particle we're going to study is out. And again, we have to define a container. So it could be a container with clear boundaries like this cup, or something more abstract. And the principal definition of out is the idea that something is not in the container, not in situ, absent from the container. And this helps us to understand basic phrasal verbs like to go out. But if the container is more abstract, it helps us to understand phrasal verbs like to stretch out, where the container normally is my body in this sphere, and I'm stretching out of my container. Now, if all of the biscuits are out, then that means that there are no biscuits left. There is an absence of biscuits. And this helps you to understand phrasal verbs like sell out or run out. Now let's switch perspectives. Imagine that you are inside this empty cup, and this biscuit is trying to get in, but you are inside, blocking it, preventing it, keeping it out. Then this helps you to understand phrasal verbs like block out or cross out. Now, I want you to continue imagining that you are inside this cup, and out we have this biscuit. Can you see it from inside the cup? No. It is out of your vision, out of your knowledge. So phrasal verbs that talk about out can also mean that there's something that you don't know, that you need to discover. Phrasal verbs, for example, like find out. Well, I hope that now you understand not only...
Okay, so so the thing of it is, and there's actually a second part to that video where he explains other prepositions and how it relates to other phrasal verbs. So I know that phrasal verbs, the problem with phrasal verbs, I know they are difficult. I do think that what he talks about is very important, that rather than simply trying to memorize, dozens and dozens and dozens of phrasal verbs, it's probably easier for you to focus on the actual particle, not on the actual verb itself. But that said, in terms of phrasal verbs, let me see if I can find just a few exercises, and I'll email this to the website. Let me just see if I can find a good one on. Okay. So. So, have a look here. Okay. I'll give you a few minutes to have a look at all of them. Okay, so have a look at them.
Sit down.
You can try. I say yes.
Don't give up.
Why you laugh?
Try this.
I know.
You did it.
In my one too. I'm nervous. Yeah, that's fine. I'll leave you that.
Okay, so put your shoes down, on, up.
On.
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 Put your shoes on. It's too cold to walk around barefoot. Okay.
Get up.
Head up.
Get up.
Get up. From like in the morning, like wake up from bed.
Yes.
Down.
Down.
Sit down.
On.
Down.
So like write it down.
Down.
Up.
Up.
Okay, no, what?
On.
Down.
On.
Down, on, or up.
We like to try
On.
on. No.
I'm not sure.
Up.
Have you tied up?
Tidied up.
Up.
Remember what he was saying about the idea that up means better, that up means improvement, right?
Yes.
That I did up the kitchen. My little sister woke me
Up.
up.
Understand.
Don't put the vase there. It will fall.
Down.
Down.
Thank you for
On. Down.
On.
Down.
Adam.
Because in negative.
Adam switches.
On.
Switch. Down.
I learned.
Fine.
Down.
On.
Switch on.
Switch on.
Yeah, you switch on. So you switch on.
23 minutes and unless 10 minutes we are speaking.
So yes, there are the answers. So put your shoes on. You must get up now. Sit down. Write the word down. Don't give up. Try on. Tidy up. Blah blah blah.
Only one that you know. and nobody else. I can talk like normally, but
Now, does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. Now,
I can understand the first name. I can speak normal, and that's it.
okay. So just a couple of things. So we'll have obviously we'll do more work on phrasal verbs. The other thing I just want to remind you, tomorrow's class is at a different time. Okay. So our usual class is at what time is it in Dublin? What I don't know because I know in Dublin the hour went forward, right? So I know that the hour went forward in Dublin, but the hour didn't go forward in Uruguay. So I think in Uruguay we are 4 hours now, 4 hours behind you in Dublin.
Now is 8 minutes to 7.
It's almost 7 o'clock. Okay,
yeah.
so class started at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think tomorrow's class, am I right that tomorrow's class starts at 4 o'clock? Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know.
Did you guys did you not get a notification from Vaga-Mundo?
No.
Yes. Teacher, modify this.
Did?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because tomorrow's class.
I know. Oof.
So yeah, so tomorrow's class starts at 4 p.m.
4 p.m.
4 p.m.
Okay.
It's 4 p.m. Dublin time, which is 12 p.m. in Uruguay.
Ah, okay, okay.
So
12,
noon
yes.
in Uruguay.
Okay.
Okay.
Teacher, and then your dinner is okay.
It's 12 o'clock it's noon in Uruguay at 4 p.m. in Dublin. But that's just for tomorrow.
Right.
Okay. That's just for tomorrow. I think on Wednesday back to the regular schedule.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So what I want to do, I'd like to look in more detail at phrasal verbs. Okay. So I'll send over a couple of links to the site for phrasal verbs, and then we will look at them in more detail.
Nervous laugh.
Okay.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, then I will see you guys all tomorrow afternoon. So 12 o'clock 12 o'clock Uruguay time, 4 p.m. Dublin time. Okay, so I'll see you guys then.
See you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. See you.
Stay safe, everybody.